Good morning, students. Today we are studying a new chapter from the book Beehive for the session 2020. The chapter name is The Fun They Had by Isaac Asimov. About the author, Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov was born on January 2nd, 1920 and died on April 6, 1992. Was an American writer and professor of biochemistry at Boston University. He was known for his works of science fiction and popular science. Asimov was a prolific writer who wrote or edited more than 500 books and an estimated 90,000 letters and postcards.
Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed 17 May 2157, she wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper." Regarding the explanation of this slide, Margie was writing in her diary the reading experience with Tommy of the old book, and she also recalling the experience or remembering the past memories about her grandfather told the stories when his grandfather used to read on the books which were printed on the paper. Now let's move on the next slide. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen. And then, when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had had when they read it the first time. Here they is Tommy and Margie. She's writing a diary experience. She's describing the book yellow and crinkly. Here crinkly means the pages in the old book has had many folds or lines. Now she is comparing the old book pages to the e-books or the web pages on screens. Regarding the old book, she is saying she has described the pages stood still, the pages were stagnant, and they didn't move as compared to the screen ones, which can move on or change. When they read it the first time, there was no change when they turned the pages. Geese, said Tommy, what a waste. When you are through with the book, you just throw it away. I guess our television screen must have had millions books on it. It's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away. Same with mine, said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. She said, where did you find it? In my house. He pointed without looking because he was busy reading. In the attic. What's is about? School. Now see the explanation of the slide. He compared his telebooks to the old book. He assumed after reading the book it could be thrown away. His computer had many million telebooks and still had more space to store or download it, and there no need to throw it. Same features Margie television had. He was busy in reading, so being curious, Margie asked, "Where did he found the book?" He told he found the book in his house in the attic. Attic is a place under the roof where we store something, and the book was about school. Margie was scornful. School was there to write about school. I hate school. Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. Yes, scornful means the worthless. For Margie, school was worthless because the mechanical teacher who had been giving her homework or test after test, the performance in geography was decreasing continuously. So her mother was alarmed and she called for the county inspector. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The first two lines gives a description about the county inspector. He came to Margie house just to repair the mechanical teacher, and Margie hoped he wouldn't able to reassemble it again, but he repaired the mechanical teacher in hour. Margie describes the mechanical teacher in large, black and ugly. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code. They made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. Here slot means a given space, time or position. Like we give example, if we give you some assignment online, we have to download it, fill the assignment and upload it before 5 o'clock today evening. That's a slot, a time given. Punch code here means the computer language or programming language mechanical teacher understands. After submitted homework, the mechanical teacher automatically calculates the marks in no time. In no time means quickly. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted Margie's head. He said to her mother, "It is not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was get a little too quick. Those things happen sometimes. I have slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory," and he patted Margie's head again. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. So she said to Tommy, "Why would anyone write about school? Here, get to means adjusted or to particular level." This paragraph means the county inspector informed Mrs. Jones that it was not Margie's fault because the geography section was one level higher or quicker than the Margie's ability. He reduced the mechanical teacher level to the 10-year-old child level. But Margie was disappointed because she had hoped that the county inspector would take away the mechanical teacher as it had happened with Tommy's history sector when it was totally shut down. Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. "Because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago," he added loftily, pronouncing the word carefully. "Centuries ago." Margie was hurt. "Well, I don't know what kind of school they had all the time ago." She read the book over his shoulder for a while and then said, "Anyway, they had a teacher. They had a teacher. It was a man. It was a man. Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man. How could a man be a teacher? Well, he just told the boys and girls the things and gave them homework and asked them questions." Here loftily means in a superior way. "A man isn't smart enough." "Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. He knows almost as much, I betcha." Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that. She said, "I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me." Tommy screamed with laughter. "You don't know much, Margie. The teacher didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there and all the kids learned the same thing. Sure, if they were the same age." Here the meanings betcha means to place a bet and dispute means to disagree with. This paragraph means that Tommy tells Margie that his father was as knowledgeable as the mechanical teacher. He could place a bet on this. Margie was not in the mood to disagree with him. To change the topic or to divert it, when Margie tells Tommy that she won't allow the stranger to come to her house to teach, then Tommy gets surprised and he informs Margie that the teacher, who is called a man, and the student went to a special building called a school. "But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently. Just the same, they didn't do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book." "I didn't say I didn't like it," Margie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. They weren't even half finished when Margie's mother called. "Margie, school!" Margie looked up. "Not yet, Mama." "Now," said Mrs. Jones, "and it's probably time for Tommy too." Margie said to Tommy, "Can I read the book some more with you after school?" Here this paragraph means, according to Margie's mother, each student, boy or girl, has to be taught as per their requirement or ability, not in the class form or a group form. When Tommy heard this, he had a feeling that Margie was not enjoying reading the old book. "Maybe," he said nonchalantly. He walked away whistling, the dusty old book tucked beneath his arm. Margie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher was on, waiting for her. It was always on at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday, because her mother said little girls learned better if they learned at regular hours. The screen was lit up, and it said, "Today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fraction. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot. Here, nonchalantly means not showing enthusiasm or encouragement, or not interested in particular, very easy language. This paragraph means at a particular time every day from Monday to Friday, Margie had to sit for studying because regular learning was beneficial for little girls. Here, lit up means the screen was on. Margie did so with a sigh. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came, laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same things so they could help one another with the homework and talk about it. And the teachers were people. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add fraction 1 upon 2 and 1 upon 4, Margie was thinking about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. Here, had means enjoyed or experienced. They had. While the mechanical teacher was giving some problems, Margie was in her own virtual world thinking about the stories told by her grandfather about his grandfather. So, if you have any doubt, please do ask us in the comment section. Thank you and have a nice day.